Hello, Konstantin. Hello, Eleni. For this conversation we will have about our fantastic project Training for the Contact Zone. I'm sitting in the library of the Goethe Institute in Bucharest, and you are in Greece, I suppose. Yeah. So, and we will have the possibility to speak about this project and about your involvement. In the beginning, dear Konstantin, dear Eleni, I would like to ask you to introduce yourself and to tell us what is your personal background, and then we will talk a little bit about the training curriculum, about the institutions, and other aspects of this project. Would you like to start, Eleni?
Yeah, sure. So, hey from me too. I'm Elena Antoniadou. I am from Greece and specifically from Thessaloniki, but I live in Chania, in Creta, the last 8 years because I am a school teacher here in Chania in the primary education. With that, I'm also doing a second full job. I'm a program manager in an NGO. The name is Ikogenia. Ikogenia is the first climate corps in Greece. We try to mobilize youth in critical climate actions through paid service opportunities for youth to do climate work. So that's my background. I specialized in trainings with youth, and I'm also educator in kids.
But your second full job, Eleni, you said it's. Would you say that you are socially engaged? That you are an activist? How would you describe yourself?
No, I'm activist. No. My second full job is that I'm as a program manager on the organization, and I'm doing the educational aspect. So I'm doing the trainings on the NGO, I'm doing the educational projects for school, but yeah, with the meaningful of climate work. We try to support the underserved local communities in Greece by mobilizing the human resources to accelerate local climate resilience efforts.
Congratulations, a nice activity. So hopefully you will succeed. Can I ask Konstantin, please, to introduce yourself briefly?
Hello from Chania again. My name is Konstantin Fischer. I grew up in northern Germany in Hamburg, and I've been living in Chania for the past 34 years. I'm a visual artist, and I work at ETZ Hayyim synagogue, where I am responsible for the interaction with the visitors, which includes educational work because we have quite a number of school groups coming in. Usually primary school children, some gymnasia, which is secondary education the first 3 years, and then fewer Lyceum, which is secondary education for the last 3 years of their schooling. Sometimes universities who send children or young people here. In addition to that, as a visual artist, I'm quite often involved in projects that have a social background on the one hand and an artistic addition to it, or sometimes a way of communicating what we want to say in social subjects, usually on equality.
Mm-hmm. So would you, and it's a little bit the same question as I asked before, Eleni, would you say, Konstantin, about yourself that you are a socially engaged artist?
I would definitely do so. I started as a painter, I would say, and had landscapes in mind, and it has evolved into mostly installations, and lately there are art projects that I either organize or do for myself with others, where participation is very important. And sometimes there is not even an outcome that one can lay one's hands on. It is rather the process that is more important than a traditional visual art outcome.
It's very important what you are saying, because one can ask the institutions being partner in training for the contact zone, what is their concern, what is the concern of these cultural institutions for such a program, such a project which is tackling, so to say, difficult history, difficult heritage, problems in societies, histories not told or not enough told. And it's just this point, and that's also why I ask you these questions, that this combination, so to say, of culture, education, but also awareness for the difficulties of our societies, to tell stories, to remind their difficult heritage is the core of our, has become, so to say, also a center of interest and a center of our activities. Is this also true for the institution Hayyim you are representing?
Are you asking me or Eleni?
You, Konstantin, because you are from Hayyim.
I think the main concern of our synagogue as it is working today is sharing the message that nearly everything in our world is a matter of perspective. And we are getting lots of visitors from many different countries. Everybody comes with their perception, with their stereotypes, with the way they grew up. And we are trying to challenge this here in our presentation of the synagogue, because we're talking about an ancient community that used to live on the island of Crete for 2,200 years, which unfortunately was wiped out during the Shoah. But it was a very specific experience for the Romagnots, this is how they are called, on the island of Crete, because they lived here in relative peace for 2,200 years. And if you put that into contrast with the Ashkenazi experience in Northern Europe, where people had to leave their surroundings every other generation, it is quite often questioned by the visitors whether we are telling the truth, because it sounds like something one cannot even imagine. So our role is socially to raise awareness of diversity, starting from the history of the community that used to live on the island of Crete, and then getting into what we are doing today. We are an open-minded, small community of people of all kinds of backgrounds, Ashkenazim, Sephardim, Mizrahim, Romagnots, quite a number of Christians who are deeply involved, a few Muslims who are deeply involved in what we are doing here, which again is a surprise for most visitors, because they live in a very divided world, and we are trying and have been able to achieve very good relationships to the people with whom we live.
Thank you. So to say, in the best sense, and also in the perspective of our common project, you are already, so to say, a contact zone, a kind of permanent contact zone, as you describe your activities and your institution. So it was also very important, I have to underline it, because we are 7 partner institutions in this project, to have, let's say, experts of contact zones like you are, like your institution are, as part of our project. A cultural center, the Goethe Institute here in Romania, you in Greece, other institutions for education in Spain and Portugal, in the Netherlands, bringing all together their expertise to create this project, training for the contact zone, establishing a curriculum, doing pilot trainings, doing trainings, developing a manifesto which will be published. soon. And maybe you could talk now a little bit about where was your focus on? Because we agreed to create together this curriculum, but each country participating had its own focus on different difficult histories and heritage. So to say, for instance, we in Romania, we focused on the Roma community and some difficult heritage concerning slavery, for instance. But what could you just tell us what was your focus?
Yeah, I can go, Konstantin, and of course you can add the elements whenever you want. So for us, the focus was in multivocality. So we tried to do each training day combined all this theoretical input, of course, that we had for the curriculum, but with facilitated discussions focused on the multivocality of our audience and experiential activities. So the program generally, let's say, that focused on this three-step structure. So introduction, of course, to the module and all the key concepts that they have, and a lot of participatory activities and exercises. Also, our audience was different maybe from the others pilot projects. So we try a lot to have a lot of educators, because I am also a teacher and I truly believe that all this we can bring into the classes and in the school environment. So we try to have the audience of educators, a lot of people that works also with society, but we try techniques such as active listening, creating space for all voices to be heard, and fostering a sense of trust and inclusion that they can bring into their classrooms and into their jobs.
So voices, yeah, Konstantin.
I think one has to add that the participants were rather from the mainstream of the society. There were, of course, elements of marginalized origins or aspects of their lives, but we are talking about people who have been, in their vast majority, very successful in living with these aspects. So we had, I think we have to say that there was no marginalized group really represented at our training.
Yeah, but I think one of the main goals is to give to trainers, because the possibility to use the material, the curriculum in these marginalized groups, because we know exactly that if I just take this example of the Roma community in Romania, I can know and I could teach the training for the contact zone curriculum as good as as perfect as I want, but I'm not the one to do this inside these marginalized groups, because they have to be empowered by themselves, so to say. And this is very important. But Eleni, maybe you could give us an example of giving the voice to somebody. For instance, you could think on gender, you could think on age, you could think on social level. Could you just give us an example where you think we should give voice to a group, a person?
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, you said very correct that the participants were from diverse backgrounds and also different age ranges. So, we tried to do a lot of projects. For example, we can say that we tried to do the multivocal narratives, the memory and the representation, through artistic and heritage-based methodologies. So, there the participants engage with contemporary art practice and everyday art approaches, while also they try to present their own history, their own heritage, and their own feelings. So all this experience with different projects and different workshops every day enable the participants also to critically reflect on the dominant narratives in cultural institutions, and to explore also how alternative perspectives and marginalized voice can be recognized and also included.
You want to add something, Konstantin?
I think we raised many questions. I think we raised many question marks among people who live in the mainstream about their own perspective. And that is the first thing we need to do in order to work with the mainstream.
Certainly a very important point you're making. Naturally, we have to give voice to the marginalized communities, but it's also true we have to how to say to raise awareness also amongst us. This means the people doing this project, the mainstream, yes, but also us, to try a little bit to decolonize ourselves. Because as we know, even if you have all goodwill you can have, but sometimes you cannot avoid that. As a kind of reflex, you're just repeating some gestures, some kinds. You speak to people, you treat people, and we know this all because all of us, we are more or less teachers. Yeah, teaching, it's also a kind of hierarchy you have very normally. You have to have such a project as Training for the Contact Zone. This means creating safer spaces where people can speak, where they can also disagree by respecting themselves mutually. This is very important, and also for us it is important to handle over the power we have as teacher to these people speaking or being in this safer zones, in these contact zones. Was this also, Eleni, your concern to handle over power? Because to make speak, this means always to give up our own power a little bit.
Yeah, these are things, Hayyim, that we discussed a lot with Konstantin. Also, we had the sticker on TCZ that we want to be a safe space for unsafe conversations. So we tried a lot about this. We tried to create a safe space, a sense of trust and inclusion, first of all for us, and then of course for the participants. So the space and for that reason also we do a lot of exercise about the active listening and how to create space for everyone. This was a very, very significant thing that we think before the training and before we create also the training for the participants.
I think we are kind of lucky because Greece is in a very specific position between East and West. So we are already used to a situation where we are being otherized by Northern Europeans. We experience this here every day during the tourist season, not to mention European policies. On the other hand, of course, we take this position towards migrant workers or entire other countries where we think we are better than them. And so therefore, we are in the position to feel the pain and then maybe are able to rethink our actions and reactions towards people who we believe to be, or whom we marginalize in many ways.
I see. Now, soon the curriculum is ready, and this curriculum gives us a framework, so to say. And we want also to say it's not it's to be developed. It's from everybody. It's not in our position, but we want to share it with many people and use in different contexts. Could you just imagine, Eleni, that you take parts of it over to your everyday work as a primary teacher? Are there aspects you gained, you learned and you could use them in the future?
Yes, for sure. And that was also my initial thought before saying yes to this project. So I was thinking that all this, of course, it will strengthen my facilitation skills for youth, but also that I want to have this in my classroom. So already as a teacher, many of these elements can I used it already, let's say, and directly applied in the school environment, such as the active listening, such as the sense of trust and the space for all voices to be heard. But at the same time, I think that now, after this project, I'm also better and I have the knowledge to facilitate discussions in a more participatory way and encouraging also the students to express their perspectives, engage with another respectfully, and reflect also on different viewpoints. Reflection was also one of our main points with Konstantin on the training. We had reflections every day because for me, the reflection is a very nice way to understand better what's went well in the project and what also can be better after that. So these all approaches have helped me build a more open and supportive learning environment. And I'm sure this overall training provide me a lot of practical tools that can be and highlight also the quality of interaction in my classroom.
Thanks for this. And the same question a little bit for Konstantin. For you as a visual artist also and a cultural manager, would you in the future use parts or could you use parts of the insides of the curriculum for your work?
Definitely. I think I really became far more aware of the importance of a proper procedure to approach others in terms of cultural change and change of the perspective one has onto the world. As an artist, of course, quite often I'm trying to do very short versions of participatory action. And I have, during our training here, I saw how much better it can work when there is the trust, when people already know one another. It is usually very difficult to get an adult to draw or to do some artwork. And I've done that several times in different installations, and it was, people did participate, but there was a certain hesitance. And what we saw here was amazing. Everybody, not only everybody participated, but everybody wanted to take the artwork home. They were so proud. And somebody just yesterday showed me a photo of the artwork they produced here on the wall in their homes. So I realized through our training mostly that projects with minorities, with marginalized people, with the mainstream have to be very well organized beforehand, very well thought through, and maybe even going further away from the artistic outcome that, of course, a visual artist always has in mind, and rather into empowering people to continue what they experienced during the project or during the art, the creative process later on in their lives. So not to make it a one-time action, but a different approach onto life.
I think you made very important points.
A different approach onto life.
Both of you, because you said this is, so to say, a framework to work, yeah, and it is very important to be very, very well prepared to do these kind of workshops we are doing in a participatory way to include minorities, or also to raise awareness amongst the mainstream and so on, and then to use this method also through, let's say, something like artistic research, also to find ways to do it not only by telling the people facts, historical facts, maybe the truth and something like this, but different things. We talked a lot about methods. My last question for you would be, in different countries, different, let's say, different difficult parts of history were tackled. As in Romania, the question of the Roma slavery and the fact that nobody talks about it in the mainstream society, the Romanian. I think in Spain there was also one of the projects, the terrorism and the Basque separatism. We had colonialism in the Netherlands and so on. Is there just for you to ask, is there a topic wherefore in Greece, wherefore this method could be chosen? Is there one thing you said, okay, we should work amongst us, Greek people, about a certain topic?
I think one important thing for us was here, and it still is, the question of realizing that our national narrative is nothing more than a national narrative and not more true or less true than other narratives, national narratives. Raising awareness about the fact that it is not necessarily what happened step after step in the past. In order to prepare the ground for working with, I think, the 4 minority groups, or marginalized groups, I think, which would rather say, migrants, Roma, queer people, and people with special needs.
Thanks a lot for this. Eleni,
No, I totally agree with your opinion, Konstantin. And I think also in our training, we try to be very careful with all that. And also we try to provide, again, I'm saying the same, but we really try to provide this safe space also to everyone to be heard and feel safe to talk about everything. Because all this social, historical, and cultural realities and diverse was also a pretty big challenge for us, right? So we tried a lot about this.
yeah, thanks a lot. I was happy to learn so much about your perspective on our common project. And we will hope that you go forward, Eleni, in your school, maybe also in your NGO where you're working, Konstantin, in your work as a visual artist and your engagement as a cultural manager in the synagogue. And I have to underline that, yes, we were there to learn things from the project, but also learn things from each other, because this is also one, I would say, of the best European goals and objectives, that working together, we learn to respect each other, to respect the other perspectives, and we get also fresh ideas for ourselves. Having said that, once again, thanks a lot for this conversation. I apologize for small technical problems we had, but we will care for it the next time.
Thank you very much, Joaquin. And just a last thing that I want to add here, because you said about the next steps here. So, for example, I work in a climate-based, let's say, NGO, but I took a lot of things that I learned through training of contact zones and put it in the trainings that we're doing with youngs, because first of all, to create the safe space, to create active listeners is for everyone. It's not a specific job. It's not only if you work with multivocality, but you have to bring soft skills in the table in whichever job. So yeah, of course, I keep continuing with everything that I learned and gained from that as a trainer. And yeah, let's continue this nice work.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot once again, and see you soon. Thanks.
Thank you. Inshallah, panayamos. Thank you.
Io sono, guarda,
Ora.